Hello everyone, welcome to Sunya IAS and welcome to this lecture. Today we are going to talk about a very crucial geopolitical event which rattled the entire world at the peak of the Russia-Ukraine war. Right? We all know that we are still in the middle of the Russia-Ukraine war, although the Israel-Hamas conflict has reduced the limelight from the Russia-Ukraine war. Still, there is no denying the fact that Russia-Ukraine war is still going on, right? So, this Nord Stream, which is our topic for today, this event was very much in news in about November 2022, and we will see the reason why. But for your UPSC examination, this topic is important for GS2 paper IR, fine, international relations. And there is very low probability that this topic will come separately as a question. So, how you have to utilize this topic? One is that you have to be aware about it. That is, of course, there. But the second thing is how you have to use it in your answers. The usage will come when you will be asked about the impact of Russia-Ukraine war and overall the challenges faced by the current world order, right? Nord Stream pipeline also has to do a lot with our energy security, and we will talk about why and how. So first we will see where exactly the Nord Stream pipeline is. Now, the fact that it is a pipeline means that it is carrying something, right? So about the Nord Stream pipeline, just understand that it is a very crucial way for Western Europe to ensure its energy supplies. Whenever you see a European or an American web series or a movie, you would not see them saying that I am going to get petrol filled in my car. They say I'm going to get the gas, right? So they function on natural gas. They have already made that transition that their mobility, their automobiles, they're functioning on gas. Now, where does this gas come from? We all know that Europe in itself is a pretty small continent. It's not a very big continent, right? And historically, it has been very clear that it is not very resource rich also. That is why Europeans had to come to India, they had to go to Africa to secure their basic food, their basic energy supplies, and whatnot, right? So, the fact of the matter is that even today they don't have enough gas supplies. So, Russia, which is resource rich when it comes to natural gas, it is very resource rich because of the this Siberia region, right, which has a lot of gas reserves, and overall also Russia is the biggest country area wise, so it has gas reserve, it has energy reserves. So the Nord Stream pipelines, and there are two of them, they are supposed to carry the gas supplies from Russia to Germany, and from Germany, it's not that just Germany is using this gas. Entire Europe gains this gaseous resource from Germany because of this Nord Stream pipeline. Okay, and there are two Nord Stream pipelines. So Nord Stream pipeline 1 was already functional. Nord Stream pipeline 2, it was created, it started in 2011, it was completed by 2021. It took 10 years to be completed, but it was still not functional, right? Before this event happened, which I'm going to talk about, it was still not functional, right? And now we will come to the fact that what actually happened, why is Nord Stream in news. And for your prelims perspective, you must be knowing that Nord Stream pipeline is not an oversea pipeline, it's not an overground pipeline, it is an underground pipeline, right? This is for pictorial purpose, that just to make you understand that where it starts from, where it ends. but it is an underground pipeline, in fact underwater pipeline, right? It's underwater pipeline, and it is under the Baltic Sea. It is laid under the Baltic Sea. So it's peak of technological innovation, peak of man's creativity, and peak of the heights that we can achieve. But what has happened is that Nord Stream pipeline got attacked. And when I say attacked, it was a massive attack which led to explosions, effectively rendering the pipelines of Nord Stream dysfunctional. Right now, only one of the pipelines is functional, but two pipelines of Nord Stream 1, two pipelines of Nord Stream 2, they have been compromised with, they have been bombed, and as a result, they are not functional. So, what does it mean? That Russian energy supplies are not reaching Europe through Nord Stream anymore, right? They are right now dysfunctional. So, what we need to understand over here is that in September 2022, there were reports of a gas leak from the Nord Stream pipelines. Reports of a gas leak. Now, this gas leak can be very genuine also, है ना? Because there is so much pressure at the bottom of the ocean that the pipe can break, the gas can leak. It is very natural. However, all the pipes being broken together, and it was very clear that it was a deliberate attempt. It was a deliberate attempt by someone to actually impact the pipelines. Then the investigation started, and let me tell you, it is not just that the explosion happened and the energy supplies were shut. If you see this, all of this is the burst of natural gas, especially methane. Burst of natural gas, especially methane, into the Baltic Sea. So, what kind of, just to think about the kind of impact that it would have had on the marine life. Just think about the kind of impact that it has on the overall environment. So, what I'm trying to say is that try to see this in a broader perspective so that tomorrow, even if you get a question in your interview, about the recent, and when I say recent, it's about the past 5 years. So, for that matter, Taliban attack on Afghanistan is also a recent event in geopolitical history. So, anyway, the impact of this is on the climate as well. The impact of this is on the connection, the energy supply, everything is impacted. But the problem is that there is no clarity on who attacked the Nord Stream pipeline. There is no clarity around it. In fact, there have been researches by independent journalists, one of whom said that it was actually the United States CIA. Right? The United States CIA which actually attacked the Nord Stream pipeline so that Western Europe would not be dependent on Russian oil supplies, on Russian energy supplies. Because as long as Western Europe is dependent on Russian energy supplies, it will not overarchingly support Ukraine. Just imagine, just draw a parallel here about to the Israel-Hamas conflict. Right now, Hamas has the hostages, and Israel has killed more than 10,000 people living in the Gaza Strip. However, the kind of opposition against Israel that used to be there is not seen currently. Why? That is because Israel has become a major economic power, major technological power, major power which you cannot afford to mess with, Even US is called the biggest terrorist state. The kind of actions US has taken, be it in Iran, be it in Iraq, be it in Afghanistan, be it in Kuwait, be it in Vietnam, you cannot justify these kind of actions in the name of democracy. But because US is the biggest economy and no one can really mess with the US, That is why US is getting away with all of this, right? Similar thing US understands about Russia, that Russia, as long as Europe is dependent on Russia on its for its energy. And just think about why we need energy, right now, whichever device you are watching this lecture on, that is being run by energy. Your refrigerator, your lights, your fans, your everything that is being supplied to you is being supplied through energy. So energy has a meta effect. It has a meta effect. So there is no conclusive proof, although Joe Biden has conclusively denied these allegations and said that no, we were not to blame for the Nord Stream bombing. This particular report says Ukraine military officer accused of attack on Nord Stream gas pipeline. So whether it's Ukraine, whether it's US, we know that US supports Ukraine in this battle, right? Because US and Russia are historical enemies. So there is no conclusive proof right now who has hit the Nord Stream pipeline, but right now the impact is that it is dysfunctional. And that is why international relations is considered a domain of anarchy. International relations is considered a domain of anarchy, that anyone at any point of time can do whatever they want and they can get away with it, right? And the people, the normal people, the average people, the common people have to suffer. So this is the current context. Now let's talk about the significance of Nord Stream pipeline. Again, I am not saying that you will get a direct question on this, but you need to understand the significance of this pipeline so that you can use it as a pointer in why peace is important. You can use it as a pointer to strike a discussion maybe tomorrow in your interview, right? And of course, in prelims, you can be asked question around Nord Stream pipeline. So environmentally, when Nord Stream pipeline works at its full capacity now again, it will replace crude fossil fuels with natural gas, and eventually, when we move on to a hydrogen based economy as well tomorrow, so maybe it can transport hydrogen energy as well through these pipelines. You may never know, right? When infrastructure is ready, you can eventually upgrade the infrastructure to provide different kind of energy resources. Okay, so environmental friendly. Then it leads to energy security to Europe. We all know that such this huge amount of energy supplies being given from Russia to Europe, it also leads to some kind of stability in the relations. And that is why Russia, despite having attacked Ukraine, has said that please, has asked United Nations to please investigate who has attacked the Nord Stream pipeline, who has impacted the Nord Stream pipeline. So Russia here is being a little hypocritical, right? Because Russia was the country which actually started this entire, conflict. And when a conflict happens, it can go anyway, right? So when the Nord Stream pipeline has now been bombed, now Russia is saying, because Russia is facing economic losses because it is not able to transport the gas. So it's saying to the United Nations that please interrogate and please investigate who has done this. Then economically, it was supposed to be economical and safe. Economical it was, but apparently safety cannot be guaranteed for the Nord Stream. It generate massive investment and employment, and you must understand that the building of these pipelines, the maintenance of these pipelines, and the kind of energy economy that it creates is irreplaceable, right? And overall creates business opportunities also. And obviously you will understand that when Russia and Europe have a direct linkage, then Europe's dependence on Middle East decreases. Middle East is the hub of oil, right? So when there are alternatives to oil in the form of gas reserves, then the dependence on Middle East actually decreases. Is that fine? So, geopolitically, it was supposed to offer stability in the region, and it did also provide stability for a long period of time, because when you are dependent on the basis of energy, you will not attack each other. However, Russia was the aggressor over here, so the Nord Stream has not actually succeeded in maintaining stability as such. Security assurances and energy diversification, as I told you, that massive dependence on Middle East is sought to be reduced. Okay, that is there. Now, with the attack on Nord Stream pipeline, and I hope you are writing and making notes of all of this, and I have told you this about these classes, that you have two options. If you have the Shunya books of GS, you have all these notes in these books, so you can order the books. But if you don't have the books and you're not planning to get the books also for some reason, then you have to get to handwritten notes. You have to get to handwritten notes. Okay? You have to make handwritten notes within the class and create a notebook with with 3 sections primarily. GS1, GS2, GS3. Within GS2 as well, also there will be polity, there will be IR, there will be social justice. So you need to make subject wise sections, and you need to create the current affairs notes from these classes, or you can straight away go to the books. That is up to you. Fine. So this is an answer to your question regarding the PDF, etc. PDF you will not be getting, either it's the handwritten notes that you can make, or you can order the book. Fine. Now, challenges. See, biggest challenge is the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which has emerged, and it has led to an attack on the Nord Stream pipelines, making them effectively dysfunctional. So that is the biggest problem. Then there was also a aspect of bureaucratic hurdle. So Germany, when governments are involved, this happens, that Germany was earlier in support of the Nord Stream pipeline, but as and when the Russia-Ukraine conflict kept on getting aggravated, Germany actually withdrew its support, right? So that is a problem. And overall, US is not very happy with the kind of energy dependency that Europe is having on Russia, because you need to understand that Western Europe is a extended backyard, is an extended backyard of the US. It is an area where US enjoys strategic depth. It is an area where US enjoys strategic depth. And when US is enjoying strategic depth in a particular area, it would not want Russia to become a crucial factor in that area. I hope you understand that, right? Just like we don't want that China becomes a crucial factor in the Indo-Pacific region, similarly, US does not want Russia to be a crucial factor, deciding factor in the Western Europe. And overall, it is incongruent with NATO mandate. Overall, the mandate of NATO was that Russia is the aggressor. What is the mandate of NATO? And NATO has US and Western European countries. So, as per NATO, Russia is to be excluded from all diplomatic action, from all all collaboration and everything. And in fact, Russia has to be strategically avoided, strategically isolated. But depending for energy on Russia itself is against the mandate of NATO. Then strategically, if we talk about this particular pipeline, then Europe is already dependent on Russia for 40% of its energy needs, right? Before the Nord Stream pipeline goes into its full capacity, again, whenever it is rebuilt and whenever it is started, and of that aspect, still dependence on Russia is about 40% for the Western Europe. So it's already a lot. and increasing that dependence on a particular country, and that country being an aggressor visibly, is not something that is expected. So it will lead to Russian monopoly. That will become a challenge. Economically, there are many middle countries, like there is Belarus, which seek to protect the transit fees that they were gaining earlier. So right now, when you are having Nord Stream, it is an underground pipeline. So no country is actually gaining any fees out of it. And though it is good for the end consumer, that it leads to cheaper energy, but countries like Belarus are losing out on their revenue that they earlier used to gain by energy transition, right? The providing a passing way of energy, Belarus is losing out on that particular revenue. And when I talk about Belarus, you must know that Russia is planning to invade Belarus also, like is that it has invaded Ukraine by 2030. And what is the grand vision over here? The grand vision is to somehow resurrect the former glory that Soviet Union enjoyed, right? So maybe you cannot, Putin is not in support of creating Soviet Union all over again for sure, but he is definitely in support of getting back the neighborhood states together in support of Russia, and he does not want them to go towards the US. Then it is bypassing the Ukrainian pipeline and overall increasing costs. So if we talk about the attack that has just happened, you see that this attack has led to massive expenditure, massive cost that now the European continent has to bear collectively. So that is a problem. Environmentally, we see that methane is 80 times more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide is, right? So it causes 80 times more, not 80%, I'm saying 80 times more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. And methane leak during the Nord Stream pipeline attack was massive. And that is why it is very clear that it will lead to climate change. Leakage and of course methane release will lead to global warming. Overall, what are the ways in which we can improve this particular situation, which is now appearing to be very hopeless in that regard? See, Nord Stream being such a critical infrastructural dimension of energy security for Western Europe and revenue security for Russia, there needs to be better surveillance and better investigation of the attacks. So if these attacks, now that they have happened, it needs to be very clear who was the one who engineered these attacks, because if this is not done, it will lead to a precedent. It will lead to a precedent that you can actually attack global infrastructure and you will not be penalized for it, right? So right now, Sweden, Denmark, and of course Germany, they have engaged in their collective and individual research, and they have come to know and they have asserted to the fact that someone deliberately bombed these pipelines, that was for sure. And an investigation by Seymour Hersh, you see this name, don't write this name, but Seymour Hersh, who is a journalist, he has clear cut and openly said that it was the United States of America through its naval forces who has actually destroyed this, so that the increasing energy dependency of Western Europe on Russia can be reduced, right? So that is there. And other than that, what is the way forward apart from strengthening the intelligence? That we need to go for immediate ceasefire, not just in the Nord Stream aspect, because that one has already ceasefire. But Russia Ukraine war, it is said that it is even possible that it was Zelensky who was behind this entire Nord Stream episode. So, Russia Ukraine war, there needs to be a ceasefire so that the larger cause of humanity, which is energy security, it can be secured, right? It can be investigated into. So that is all for today's class. Today we studied about the Nord Stream pipelines 1 and 2, how they were attacked, how they are important, what are the challenges regarding Nord Stream pipeline, and I have also told you the way forward, what can happen in future to make sure that this kind of instance does not happen, because this is a slap on the face on international politics and international security, right? Again, I'm asserting that for your UPSC examination, this topic will be relevant from GS2 perspective, from international relations perspective. If you need the notes, you can order the Shunya books. If you are okay with handwritten notes, you can make handwritten notes while watching the class itself. That's all for today. I'll see you all in the next class. Thank you for watching.